I feel like in the race context, what we have to do is say, okay, this is how the church supported racism in the past, right? This is
Mhm.
how the church dehumanized black people and transform religion into a tool of evil, like you said. And this is
Mhm.
what we need to do now to use it for good, is to emphasize the good parts, right? And the things that reflect our common humanity, right? From the
Mhm.
Bible, right? That's not what's happening. That's not the reality of what is occurring in churches. So when I say the white supremacy thing in relation to church, that's what I'm trying to say is that what needs to happen, which is the same thing that you were just describing, but in the race context in a church, that is not
Mhm.
happening. That is not what people are saying. Instead, even though people are not directly saying white power from the pulpit, they are not doing what needs to be done, which is taking accountability and responsibility for what the church has done in the past and saying that now we need to move in a different direction. Because what pastors report to me is that when they try to do that, they lose their congregation because that's not what people want to hear and it's not what people want to do. So, like, that is a huge issue, you know?
I'm gonna let you deal with that one, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think that you need to deal with it, but I'm just letting you know that this is what's out there. And it's reflective of what I've been saying, that we're
Yeah.
not far enough along that we can just throw our hands up and say, oh, everyone's on their own. Like, there does need to be someone who deals with it, whether it's me, whether it's someone else, whether it's Robin DeAngelo, whether it's Eve Mescani, whoever it is, someone needs to deal with it. We can't just pretend like we can somehow ignore it. It's not a reasonable way of dealing with our present. And maybe it will be in the future. You know, maybe we'll get
Mhm.
to a point where, okay, like enough of this has lost its power and its pervasiveness that we don't need to any longer have this kind of dialogue in churches or like trying to have the conversation. But right now, we are actively avoiding doing what's necessary to move us forward in this context. And that is what I hear in a lot of contexts. And there's all kinds of expressions of that avoidance, from the law to what's happening in medicine to what happens in business, like to religion, like literally
Man, you're
every
saying a lot. You're
context.
saying a lot. Hold on. You're giving me way too much. Wait,
Sorry,
hold
sorry,
on.
sorry, sorry.
Can you break it down in bullet points? What is necessary?
What I think is necessary is an acknowledgement of our past. The same thing that you were talking about with the water, right? When I asked you what we should do with this water situation, you were like, we need to acknowledge that water was used this way, that people were taught this about water. We
Okay.
have not done that in the race
Who
context.
hasn't who hasn't done that?
The
I feel
government,
like
the
I
United States government, we literally have laws
you
all across the country
you
stopping
don't
us to
think
do it.
Biden has not done that?
He has made a few statements here and there. Yeah, I think
What
that,
else do you
and
want him to do?
I think that ultimately, brother, we need to do a lot more than that. Okay,
Okay.
if you thought just making a few statements from the president's from the seat of the presidency is enough to make people understand the legacy of of racism and the racial hierarchy in the country, I don't think that that's remotely enough. I don't think that that will work. I don't think it's reasonable to think that would work.
When you say work, what does that mean? What is the work? What is the work part? What does that mean?
When I say it will work, I mean like to bring people out of ignorance. Remember, like I said in the past, like right now, there's a lot of people walking around completely ignorant of the world that they live in, of the country they live in. They don't understand the racism that they're around. They don't understand what
Like,
barriers people face. They don't understand that people still act out on those beliefs and they impact people's outcomes, which is why,
look,
yeah. Hmm.
I don't. Maybe we live in two different worlds. It's 2024. I get reminded of this stuff every day, like CNN, MSNBC, every movie, every TV show, like anything, it's everywhere. If you're ignorant about race in 2024, dude, look at the George Floyd thing. If you're
I'm
ignorant
not
about
saying there
race
aren't
in
yeah, yeah,
2024,
yeah, yeah. Listen, I'm not saying there aren't opportunities for learning all around us. I am
uh-huh.
talking about willful ignorance, willful, people actively trying not to learn, and a country that is helping them remain that way. That
So
is
what do
our
you
reality. That is what is going on. That has been going on for generations, brother, in this context. It's not new. It's something that's been happening. And now people are fighting against it. And this is how: by putting it in movies, by putting it on CNN. This is what people are trying to do, is reverse the trend of willful ignorance that has been the standard. That is what people are attempting. And
okay?
and so we can't fight against people doing that because they're doing the right thing. That is what we need to be doing if we want to change this society and make it better. And so it's just very disheartening when people are not behind these people and not behind these initiatives, because it means that people don't want to make this place better. It will objectively make it better. And so it's just kind of like,
Well, here,
why are we fighting? You know?
here's my thing. Here's what I'll defend though, because I know a lot of those people. They have their own idea of. Remember at the beginning of our conversation where you need to meet people where they're at? They have their own idea of how to make things better. And I have a really good idea of like how or why that when those pastors try to bring this stuff up, that they lose their congregation. And I think that what people want to hear is more of the message Martin Luther King had, right? And what I hear, and I'm in a lot of those conservative. I don't consider myself conservative, but I'm in a lot of those conversations. And what I hear is that people want to hear, let's come together, let's do this. And your first bullet point, I don't think you got through the other bullet points of what is necessary. But your first bullet point does strike a lot of people the wrong way. Acknowledgement of the past. I think that's all the pushback we would see. The pushback is people are like, we're tired of acknowledging the past. What are we going to do about the future? I think that's 90% of the pushback that you see. People don't are tired of being pushed in the face. I mean, not pushed in the face. They're being tired. They're tired of people like Robert DiAngelo. And I'm telling, I don't. I'm agnostic to that whole thing. I don't like Robin DiAngelo, but this thing, I'm telling you how they feel about her. They feel that she is saying, we are racist and there's nothing we can do about it. And I have to walk around as this racist person. That as opposed to someone like Martin Luther King who says, let's all love each other. People are attracted to that MLK message, and they are not attracted to some woman telling them, "Hey, you're evil. Your parents did evil things. You're probably thinking evil thoughts right now." People already know they're thinking evil thoughts. You yourself said, "Meet people where they are." Robin DiAngelo, this is the way they perceive her. I'm not saying this right or wrong. They're perceiving her as saying, "You're a bad person, and there's nothing you can do to change that." And it doesn't come across as she's meeting them where they're at. When someone like MLK, and what I would say the Bible says is that we should all love each other. Let's focus on how we can love each other instead of focusing on past grievances. That's what it feels like when you talk to them about this kind of stuff.
I hear you. I
If that
hear
makes
you.
sense.
Yeah. What I would say to that, okay, is that Dr. King did talk about loving each other, but he recognized that that is impossible without acknowledging the past. It is a major part of his
Mhm.
message. He knew
Yeah,
that we would not
I
get
agree.
there without acknowledgement of the past. So it's still a part of his message too. They are picking and choosing which part of his message they would
Maybe.
like to acknowledge. And this is the willful ignorance in action. It is by choosing the parts that they want and ignoring the parts they don't want, and that
Mhm.
path does not lead to progress. Unfortunately, some hard realities are going to be have to face. And the reason they don't like D'Angelo is because she's not afraid of facing them. But she does not say
Okay.
what you said. She does not say the things that
I'm
you
saying
said.
that is the
That
way
may
she's
be what they
perceived.
want. Yeah, because they want to vilify her because they don't want to. It's for the same reason. They don't vilify Dr. King because they just ignore the parts of his message they don't want. He's dead. He was assassinated. He was killed. So they don't have to acknowledge him. If you go on Twitter, like people will be telling his daughter, Bernice King, oh, here's what your father really meant. When she's trying to say things like that they don't like, they'll be like, oh, no, he didn't mean that. Let me tell you what he actually meant. It happens all the time. I've seen it so many times through the years. It's
Yeah, I've heard
disgusting.
that too. The
So, like,
the
all I'm saying
irony. Go
is,
ahead.
I feel like, I get that people don't like it, all right? I get that people don't like hearing about the past, but you can't get to the future without dealing with the past. Thanks for watching. For access to the full length conversation and all of the 2 hour long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support and see you next time.